You going to meet with Democratic leaders?
I'm always going to meet. All they have to do is open up the country.
So
Let them open up the country, and we'll meet. We'll meet very quickly. But they have to open up the country. It's their fault. Everything is their fault. It's so easily solved. You know, we have a number of Democrats that have already voted for this. But the Republicans are very unified. They're very strong. And they want to do what's right for the country. They don't want to see trillions of dollars wasted on people that came into our country illegally, many from prisons and many from areas that you don't want to even know about. So we'd like to see this taken care of rapidly. You have a lot of, we have tremendous support, but it's not even support, it's common sense. Open up the country. Obamacare has turned out to be a disaster, as I've been saying for years. It can be fixed or redone. People don't get good health care, and their premiums go up every single year. So we should change it. It's a disaster. Obamacare is bad health care at a very high price.
Donald Trump appeared visibly desperate during and after his Air Force One flight to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend as he tried to spin the government shutdown backlash against the Democrats. Despite evidence showing it's hurting him far more, multiple polls indicate that the majority of Americans blame Trump and the Republicans, not the Democrats, for the crisis. While public opinion could shift, the growing fallout from skyrocketing health insurance premiums to SNAP benefits vanishing overnight is expected to hit Republican voters the hardest. Trump doesn't seem to fully understand that yet. But before we dive deeper into this, if you enjoy this video and want to support the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Now, let's take a look at the clips of Trump during and after his flight to Mar-a-Lago.
The country's doing well. The shutdown proceeds because the Democrats just don't know what they're doing. I don't know what's wrong with them. They've never done a thing like this.
I don't know what was going on with him. It was like he completely lost his train of thought mid-sentence, almost as if he was about to say gerrymandering. That, by the way, is a separate issue, one that Donald Trump himself is responsible for, thanks to his mid-decade redistricting and gerrymandering push aimed at padding his House majority. He knows that without those efforts, he'd likely face major losses in the 2026 midterms. Now, when Trump claims they've never done this before, he's actually right. But not in the way he thinks. Historically, government shutdowns have been driven almost entirely by Republicans, often over the objections of Democrats who are usually open to compromise. What's different this time is that Democrats are allowing Trump and the GOP to own this shutdown rather than scrambling to stop it. Typically, Democrats bend over backward to prevent shutdowns whether they're in power or not, while Republicans seem eager to trigger them. It's worth remembering that the longest government shutdown in U.S. history happened under Trump because of Trump. And now, the second longest one is unfolding, also under his direction. There are two main reasons this is still being pinned on him. First, Democrats have publicly said they're ready to vote to reopen the government if Trump and Republicans negotiate in good faith. That's the same standard Republicans demanded when Democrats held power. When President Biden faced similar standoffs, he managed to avoid shutdowns entirely. As a more competent and pragmatic leader, he was willing to sit down with Republicans, acknowledge their leverage, and find a workable compromise. Trump, by contrast, refuses to engage, insisting that negotiations only happen on his terms, as if he's somehow exempt from the rules everyone else follows. Democrats are calling his bluff this time, and the public seems to agree with them. Polls continue to show that most Americans blame Trump and the GOP for this mess, and it's clearly getting under his skin. He doesn't like that Democrats are finally playing by some of his own tactics. Frankly, it's pretty pathetic. Here's another clip.
Obamacare has turned out to be a disaster, as I've been saying for years. It can be fixed or redone. People don't get good health care, and their premiums go up every single year. So we should change it. It's a disaster. Obamacare is bad health care at a very high price. So tonight we have a big celebration of Halloween, and I'll see you later. Thank you very much.
He's clearly dodging the question, running away from it completely. He keeps falling back on the same tired line. Obamacare is terrible. Even though it's widely popular and voters are furious at Republicans for trying to dismantle it while driving up premiums. The reality is, Trump has been campaigning on repeal and replace since the day he descended that golden escalator, and he's failed miserably to deliver. Even when his party controlled both chambers of Congress and had the Supreme Court on its side. He's proven time and again that while he might excel at political showmanship, he's absolutely terrible at governing. Here's the problem. People don't buy it anymore. Sure, Democrats have their own challenges when it comes to polling, but on healthcare, they consistently crush Republicans. The GOP has zero credibility on this issue. None. And now, because Trump has allowed Affordable Care Act subsidies to lapse, health insurance premiums are set to double on average, not just in Democratic states or cities, but in Republican areas too. That's directly on Trump. No wonder he doesn't want to discuss it. He's trying to run from responsibility, saying anything to change the subject, even joking about trick-or-treating instead of addressing the real issue. You can see how uncomfortable he is with this topic. That was after he landed at Mar-a-Lago. But let's take a look at what happened on Air Force One, where he touched on several other issues.
There are reports that you are considering strikes within Venezuela. Is that true?
No.
That you made a decision on that?
No, it's not true.
So that's at least some positive news. According to leaks reported by the Miami Herald, sourced from within the Trump administration, Trump had allegedly authorized U.S. airstrikes not just around Venezuela, but inside the country's borders. However, Trump has since denied those reports, saying it isn't true. Whether that means he hasn't given the order yet or simply hasn't made up his mind remains unclear. With Trump, you never really know. Here's the next clip.
Are you talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests?
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing, yeah. Other countries do it. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you will resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
Once again, the United States hasn't carried out this type of nuclear test in over 3 decades. We already possess the world's second largest nuclear arsenal, with Russia still holding a slight edge in total warheads. As we've discussed before, many experts worry that if Trump moves forward with these tests, it could trigger a new wave of nuclear escalation. Existing nuclear powers might ramp up testing and expand their stockpiles, while non-nuclear states with the capability, countries like Canada, for instance, could reconsider their stance and pursue their own nuclear programs out of fear and uncertainty. In short, it's a reckless move that accomplishes nothing beyond hollow posturing and dangerous saber rattling. But that's classic Donald Trump. Dramatic gestures with no meaningful or positive outcome. Here's the next clip.
What did you talk about with Prime Minister Carney? Are you and Canada going to resume negotiations?
No, but I have a very good relationship. I like him a lot. But you know what they did was wrong. He was very nice. He apologized for what they did with the commercial, because it was a false commercial. You know, it was the exact opposite. Ronald Reagan loved tariffs, and they tried to make it look the other way. And he did apologize, and I appreciated it. We had a great dinner, you know, with other countries, as you know. And I think we have a very good relationship personally. I think that what they did was wrong, but he apologized.
I'm not sure how much of that story is actually true. I take anything Trump says with a heavy dose of skepticism, especially his trademark "they said, sir, you're the best, sir" type of anecdotes. Anything that sounds overly flattering or self-serving from him is almost certainly exaggerated. So until Prime Minister Mark Carney of Canada confirms it directly, I'm not taking it seriously. For context, this all stemmed from an ad campaign by a provincial government in Canada, specifically Ontario, not Quebec. The Conservative premier there, who has often expressed admiration for Ronald Reagan, criticized Trump's tariff policies. Trump responded by falsely claiming Reagan would have supported his approach. That's just not true. President Reagan opposed widespread tariffs and only used them sparingly and only in exceptional cases tied to national security. The historical record makes that clear. But Trump, being Trump, took the comparison as a personal insult, furious that Reagan, a Republican icon, was being used against him. The irony is that Reagan holds virtually no influence in today's Republican Party. Trump's GOP has almost nothing in common with Reagan's. And while Reagan had his flaws, history increasingly views him as far more principled and less authoritarian than Trump could ever claim to be. Still, Trump let his ego drive the situation. That single perceived slight was enough for him to shut down trade negotiations with Canada, America's closest and largest trading partner. Completely irrational, but absolutely typical of Trump. Here's the final clip.
And, largely when you talk about SNAP, you're talking about largely Democrats. But I'm president. I want to help everybody. I want to help Democrats and Republicans. But when you're talking about SNAP, if you look, it's largely Democrats. They're hurting their own people. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Once again, Trump is just trying to dodge the conversation entirely. He's doing what he always does, running from accountability. But let's be clear, what he's saying here is simply false. We've already gone over this in a previous video. Trump's attacks on the Affordable Care Act and SNAP benefits are going to hit his own base the hardest: Trump counties, Trump states, and Trump voters. Yes, Democratic areas will feel the effects too, which is bad enough. But the impact on Republican-leaning regions will be even greater. In other words, Trump is willing to harm the very people who support him just to spite Democrats. That's exactly why the polling looks the way it does, and why the numbers could get even worse for him as the consequences sink in. Could public opinion shift against Democrats at some point? Sure. Anything's possible, but it's far more likely that as more Trump voters feel the sting of these policies firsthand, that polling gap widens even further. Democrats, for their part, should be prepared to make Trump pay a steep political price if he follows through with this. And it certainly looks like he will. They need to drive home exactly who's responsible and what's at stake. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.